are very honored to be here. We're going to be covering it. It's a summit that's going to take place for the next 4 days.
Thank you, America First! Thank you, Stop the Steal!
With my sister Elizabeth Etzinson, we are at the Turning Point. Shlama, shalom, and salam to one and all. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Mona Kay Show. I'm your host, Mona Kay Oshana. I know it's been a while, but here we are launching our program once again on a new day, same time, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, but today is Thursday. And so I want to welcome all of you that are tuning in today and waiting for more people to tune in on this social media outlet that we have. September actually is just celebrated 7 years of broadcasting. So I want to thank all those that have been with me throughout the broadcasting years that we've been on the air. And I want to thank all of you that are tuning in today for the first time or our new viewers and watchers. Thank you so much for coming into the program today. And we hope to see you again. And I hope you return as you listen and hear our perspective today on the program. We are so happy to be once again with you on this Thursday night. And unfortunately, today we are going to be starting our program with a sad note. As many in the Assyrian American community in the suburbs of Chicago heard, we had a devastating loss to our community. A 17-year-old, Mr. Daniel Mushi, 17 years old, but a beautiful gift from God. He was a choir singer. He was a member of our church, of the Assyrian Church of the East, who recently collapsed and passed away. At 17, you know, it's just one of those things where you cannot wrap your mind around how a young man at 17 could possibly collapse and just die. But he died doing what he loved. He was singing, and we're going to talk about him a little, but I would like for all of us to listen to an NBC coverage that took place a few days ago, that they spoke to his mother and his heroic father and mother, truly, who are believers and are taking strength in their faith. Let's go ahead and watch this video from NBC News.
4 o'clock, I'm Marion Brooks. And I'm Stephen Holt. Glad you're with us on this Tuesday. We're going to start right now with a suburban community that is devastated and mourning the loss of a talented 17-year-old with a beautiful voice. The teen was performing at an all-state choir event with his classmates when he suddenly collapsed and died. NBC5's Christian Farr spoke with his family today about who he was and the impact he made through music.
17-year-old Daniel Moshi loved to sing, and his talent for it was undeniable.
It's an honor to see my son sing to the Lord, praise him. It was an honor also that I was playing for him.
Daniel's father, Lohi, would sometimes accompany his son on the piano. Those days have now come to a tragic end. On Friday, the Leiden High School senior died after performing during a very special choir workshop event at Naperville North High School.
He was singing, they had dinner, and he was just fine. And they told us that while he was doing his solo, he just passed out.
Daniel's mother, Carolyn, says her son was rushed to the hospital, but doctors would later tell his family that he passed away. Carolyn says the DuPage County coroner told her that at this point, they have no clue why he died.
His organs were all healthy. His heart, absolutely nothing wrong with him.
Daniel's parents say he wanted to study theater in college and then head off to New York City, where he had dreams of performing on Broadway. Daniel's family says he was a young man filled with passion, and they are at peace with his death.
I know my child. He's with the Lord. He belonged to the Lord. So that gives our faith is what's keeping us and giving us strength.
God has his other will. He wants him to be with him. And okay, we are okay with that.
In Franklin Park, Christian Farr, NBC 5 News.
Such a tragic loss.
Truly such a tragic loss. I mean, to lose someone so young. We want to extend our deepest condolences to the family, to Carolyn and to Loden and the entire Mushi family. We wanted to take this time to say that we share in your grief. I, by the way, never met Daniel, but his beautiful voice touched us all. And that's why I wanted to dedicate today's program to Daniel in his memory. What a beautiful talent that was, of course. And I loved what his mother just said. He belonged to the Lord. And, you know, we sometimes forget that before we are ourselves, but we feel like our children, our fathers, our mothers, our relatives, are ours. But really they're not. They belong to the Lord and they're a gift. We are a gift one to another. And as the gift, we enjoy that gift. But when it's time to be called, and we, as they say, we go back home to be with the Lord. So, you know, in life we live and we die, of course, and then we are all called home at one time. Now, we leave this earth hoping that we've left a legacy, we've left something behind that people will think thoughtfully of us. Now, Daniel didn't live for a very long time, yet we see the impact that he made and the legacy he leaves behind will forever be remembered. We are saddened, however, repeating his mother's words, he's with Jesus. And his father said he loved the fact that his son praised the Lord, which is the wonderful way to actually depart, knowing that you were righteously living, that you were living your faith. And when God does call you, you went home doing what you loved. And this is why the Bible states death comes as a thief and we must always be prepared, regardless of age. I mean, Daniel is teaching us a lesson that death comes to our door, knocking on every one of our door. And that is one thing that is for sure, is that the day that we will pass away from this life is inevitable. So it is how we live our life and what legacy we leave that we must be vigilant about, we must think about. We celebrate today Daniel's life and his legacy. We are praying for his family, his mother, his father, his younger sister. And I know it is hard for parents to bury their children. It is not the order of life. But nevertheless, we each have a mission in this life. And when God calls us, there is nothing else to say but, here I am, Lord. I am your servant. And so we stand in your grief. I say this to the mother and the father. We stand with you in this grief. We stand with you, praying for you and sending you our love and our condolences. Rest in glory, the son of Assyria. You have left your mark on this world for the world to witness the remnants of the Assyrian people still live on. Because as with all families that immigrated to this country, Daniel, of course, being first generation American, we are proud of his accomplishments. We are proud to have in this way to know him, even though we had not met him before. But we just want to say, rest in glory, and we know that he is with Jesus. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to stand with those that are mourning and glorify God that we know that Daniel today is absent in the body but present with the Lord. Thank you for that. Now, to go on with our program, before I go on to our regular, what I call monologue, for those of you that are new to the program, we start out with a monologue, really, but I've chosen to call it the monologue. And we want to let everyone know that there will be a grand opening of a business that will be happening tomorrow, Friday at 9 a.m. in Mesa, Arizona. For those of you that are in Mesa and or surrounding areas, we would love for you to come and celebrate a new business grand opening, which is called Lucky Bin Deals. If we can play the video, the introduction, Fred, I would really like that. With the economy being what it is in dire straits, and with the runaway of our inflation being taking over our lives, and everybody's thinking about how much gas prices are going up, how much food prices are going, and everything in between. It's really a great celebration to announce the grand opening of this new business that's happening here in Mesa, Arizona. As a local real estate agent myself, working to help clients however I can, I'd like to let everyone know about this new business that's being launched called Lucky Bin Deal. I encourage anyone that's in Mesa or surrounding areas to come to this grand opening or this ribbon cutting event tomorrow, Friday, October the 21st at 9 a.m. If you're in Mesa or surrounding areas, please come by. This is a successful business partnership rapidly expanding across the country. Some of you might have heard about the rapidly, it's taking over really the industry. Well, this particular business or these partnership has 9 locations in the Midwest and the West Coast. They're rapidly becoming leaders that are trendsetters in this new and rising industry. And many of you have probably heard this, selling Amazon overstocked and returned goods to the public. In the past few years, this new business opportunity provided by Amazon, by the way, has become a phenomenon, sweeping the country, and no one has mastered this particular business model more successfully as the partnership of Lucky Bin Deal. Now, if you can go ahead and Fred play the second video for a few minutes, one of the owners is going to be showing you a video of what the business model looks like, what they're going to be selling, and what it's going to entail. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lucky Bin Deals, where the real deals are at. We're at 422 East Broadway Road, Mesa, Arizona, 85204. We're right on the northeast corner of Mesa Drive and Broadway Road. We have the store getting fully stocked, and we're still working a little more. We're fixing our tables. We have more stuff coming out. I just wanted to show you a little sneak peek of our store. Don't forget, guys, Friday, October 21st, we're gonna have the grand opening at 9 a.m. Make your way down here before 9 a.m. We're gonna pass out raffle tickets for free. You don't have to do nothing. All you have to do, just show up before 9 a.m. so you can get a raffle ticket and get your luck and chance to win $50 cash. We will have 10 lucky winners. We will have 10 lucky winners. Those raffle tickets don't cost no money. Those raffle tickets are absolutely free. All right? So you guys make sure you get here before 9 a.m. on Friday. We have a lot of top quality merchandise only for $10 Friday. And we're still not done. We're still filling up these tables. I'm just giving you a quick little sneak peek of what we do here. All right? We have a lot of good stuff, guys. This is how we do it. And as I said, a lot of people have been asking me about those raffle tickets. Those raffle tickets are absolutely free. All you have to do is show up before 9 o'clock and be waiting in line outside. That's all you have to do. And you get a raffle ticket.
So as you can see, the model is pretty much cut and dry. You saw the bins that are over there. It's really, I mean, my mind is boggled about this business that's taking over the country, really. So we'd love for everyone in Mesa and surrounding areas to come celebrate this unique business that is sure to help revitalize not only the Mesa city, but surrounding areas. And it's the first of its kind in Arizona for this particular partnership. So I hope to see you. I'm going to be there. I believe the vice mayor of Mesa is going to be there, and we'll see who else shows up because we've invited a lot of people. So stay tuned, and of course we'll have more about that on our other shows. But new business coming to Arizona, and Arizona continues to grow. And now on to our monologue. Now, as many of you know, that we've been advertising that we are celebrating 7 years of broadcast of the Mona Kay Show. 3 years we were on radio, and for the last 4 years we've been on social media and growing. And it's been fun to transition from radio onto social media because even though we were on radio, but we still used Facebook to bring in a lot of viewers that were not able to listen to us on radio. So we actually were doing both at one point while we were on radio. We launched it 7 years ago, and the mission remains the same, and our goal continues. So we had a mission to raise our voice, and we had a goal to, I don't know if we had a goal to be on this long, but here we are. We're still here. I hope you tune in to our new time slot, which is what you're seeing today, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which a lot of people will call Arizona time, every Thursday. From now on, we're going to be on Thursday. When we were on radio, we were on every Thursday. And so I was kind of set in my ways to that day, and we were able to accomplish it. Thank you to, of course, the production company that actually brings us this program and puts everything together, and that is none other than the great Mr. Fred Duman with Cinnamon Production. So we want to thank him for everything he does. The production, the programming that you're seeing right now is all as a result of his hard work and his efforts, and of course his great talent of engineering and bringing this program together. Now it's going to be every Thursday at 8 p.m. And we will be discussing many different topics to keep people abreast of all that's going on in the world. On this occasion, we also want to let you know that we have launched another version of the Mona Kay Show, and that is the Mona Kay Show Assyrian. And on that program, we will be speaking in our native tongue, which is Assyrian, otherwise known as Aramaic. Now, that also we will be speaking about everything that's going on, not only here locally in Arizona and across the country, but across the world. As many of you know, the Assyrians are scattered, and for us that are that have immigrated from other countries, that have escaped our oppression, escaped our past life, we know that we have relatives scattered all over the world. And so we've got people in Sweden, in Australia, in all countries in Europe. And so the English version was brought about so that the world can understand that there is a nation that, unfortunately to say, was abandoned and had been suffering silently for decades. And so the English version, a lot of people will ask, well, Mona, you speak fluent Assyrian. Why aren't you doing a program in Assyrian? Well, this program wasn't designed for the internal use. It was designed for the external use. And the external purpose of it was that we needed to tell our story. And the story was that the Assyrian nation was being forgotten. was being thought that it had melted within other societies and other nations and other ethnic groups. And it is other people that were telling our story, but as if we belonged in the past. And so when we launched the English version, it was so that we can tell our story ourselves. We didn't need for people to tell our story. Who can better tell our story better than ourselves? But at the same time, we found that the need for an Assyrian version of the Mona Kay Show became very important. As many of you know, that the Assyrian version of the Mona Kay Show was in fact called by another name, and we changed it to the Mona Kay Show Assyrian, only so that we can encompass not only what it was before, which, by the way, many of you know, it was called the Assyrians for Church of the East Unity. We started out with that one purpose and that goal, that title that entailed everything that went about with the dialogue and the back and forth with the churches, the schisms of the churches and the divisions of the church. But now we found that we have a higher calling and we have a bigger mission, because the Assyrian community doesn't just entail the church unity. It entails a lot more, many different types of titles and subjects and details that we need to be speaking about. So hopefully on the Assyrian side, we will be speaking Assyrian, but we remain faithful to this program, which is speaking English, and continue to tell the story. Both programs will focus on the local, national, as well as international issues impacting us all as a global society. Because as we know, the world has become such a small world when we have social media, when we have podcasts, when we have all this technology that we're using to bring us together. We all know nowadays it's not enough to keep up with what's going on in our immediate areas. We need to be aware and have further understanding beyond our churches, beyond our neighborhoods, beyond our cities, beyond the states, and even beyond our country. We know that the world has become a global society, so that what happens over there doesn't always stay over there. It comes to our doors as well. The world has become just about one family, because we can see and we can hear and we can be a part of what's going on the other side of the world just about within a few minutes because of social media. As I have repeated over and over and over, and for those of you that don't know me, and I'm sure those people that are watching, hearing, listening, and will listen to this program, I was born in the Middle East, raised here in America, and my heart bleeds for my two nations. My birth nation and my adopted nation. I am a Christian. I belong to an apostolic ancient church that has a faith that dates back to the first century. I belong to a church called, a lot of people will say, when did you get converted? Our conversion came in the first century. The Assyrians all converted as a nation from the first century. By the faith was brought by the apostle Thomas and his disciples in the first century. One of my character principles, I should say, one of my principles in life is that it's not about finding the differences that separate us, but finding commonality that will bring us together to gain friendship and have fellowship. So we are all congregating in the world right now with this technology, congregates together and comes together, and now understands more so than anyone. And through this social media, we're able to say the Assyrians have not disappeared. The Assyrians, there was a plan on the backs of the Assyrians. There was a target, as we often say, on the backs of the Assyrians to annihilate them. But here we are. I, being one of those Assyrians, and all of you that are watching, listening, hearing, and sharing this program know that the Assyrians have not disappeared. We are still here. And thank God for the adoption of many countries like America, which is my adopted country. We are able not only to survive, but to thrive. We might not agree with one another, but we must learn to agree to disagree respectfully. I believe humanity is so busy trying to stand out, distinguishing ourselves from the world, which in turn, that in itself is causing the separation, that we have forgotten that we are all one and the same. We all bleed. We all have veins. We are all walking towards the same goal in life, which is to find peace and happiness. Mankind is so busy trying to find himself that we have lost our identity, not just the Assyrians, but all of us. This is what we intend to share, bring you details, testimonials, stories of struggle, but also of triumph from people across the globe. Who am I and what qualifies me to be sitting behind, I shouldn't say microphone, but these, before you, sitting before you today and speaking to you about what I'm speaking about? Because I'm not a politician. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm not a preacher, but I try to walk my faith. I'm not a teacher, but can speak from personal experience. I'm a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and a friend. I am an author of 2 books because I love to write. And you can read my articles and everything I've written on the MoniqueShow.com website. I feel my experience and my activism for the majority of my life in America has forced me in this position, sitting in this chair, to have to tell you or have to share with you my perspective, especially when encountering injustice. Because of all of the injustice that has happened, it has made us into it has made it necessary that we raise our voice to tell a story, not the story that the enemy is telling, the story that we as survivors are telling. For those tuning in for the first time, once again, I was born in Iraq, but escaped along with my family when I was about 8 years old. And for those of you that are from the Middle East, that are Assyrians or otherwise, you have a similar story of your parents. I still carry, and I'm sure that many that have immigrated to the United States do have the same reaction as I do. I still carry a little bit of survivor's guilt since so many of my childhood friends have and are still suffering, if not perished, as a result of the life that we left behind. I've learned to be obedient and to allow God's purpose to be served. When God wants something done, he will raise the people he knows can do the job or that is within themselves. And that actually reminds me of the story of Moses. When God sent him to get his people out of Egypt, out of slavery, the first reaction that Moses had was, I can't speak well. Why would you send me? I'm not qualified. Why would you? And so there are stories like that throughout the Bible to say, why me, Lord? But the Lord says, be obedient and I will show you why. Because what he sees in us, I'm still learning that God sees in me and sees in you what we don't see in ourselves. And so I discover a little more of what I'm supposed to be doing with my secured or saved or spared life along with my family every day. God spared our life for a reason. God brought us into the secure, privileged life as I'm living in America for a reason. What is that reason? Every single day I wake up and I say, yes, Lord, I'm hearing you. Yes, Lord, I can hear your words and I can hear it being instilled in my heart to understand why it is that you spared my life. It wasn't just to spare my life to go live my life, but it was to do what I'm doing today. With the launch of this program 7 years ago, it was simply to offer my life story for those who lost their life. It was to offer my opinion for all of those voices that were silenced, and my position to stand up for all of those who don't have liberty to make a stand. So it wasn't just for me because I've already gained everything that I possibly didn't have in my birth country. But why am I doing it? And why should you do it? And why should we remain doing this to continue this mission of raising our voice and becoming the voice to the voiceless? Because God does not want the stories to be forgotten. And if we don't tell them, who will? Why me? I don't know. But God, who sees the heart, knows us. And he knows us, not only all that is in our heart, but he uses those he deems fit. I would never have chosen me, to tell you the truth, but God did at this time for this mission. Therefore, I will accept it and do what I know how to do. I will speak up. I will stand up, shedding light on all that are oppressed, dominated, struggling to survive, and unprotected. 7 years ago, I witnessed the world's silence and indifference. Today, very little has changed with no justification. So, if we say 7 years of being on the air, where has it gotten us? Have we accomplished? Yes, we have accomplished a lot. We have gotten bolder, we have raised our voice louder, and our platform has grown. Thanks to all the viewers, thanks to all of you for following, thanks for all of you for sharing, and thanks all of you for partnering with our voices, with our voice and our message, to being able to raise up, to be able to grow this platform and to speak up on behalf of those that don't have a voice. But you know what? We've made a very small dent in that department. This is why we have not stopped. We can't stop. We now continue to make a stance to elevate the human tragedy, to build on our platform, because there was a crime that was committed on the human the crime against humanity level that was never reported. No one has ever paid for it. You know it, and I know it, for those of you that have come from those countries. Have you seen anyone being arrested? Have you seen anyone taken to the higher courts of justice? No, I have not seen any of that. We hear so much about so many local and international terrorists as if they are the heroes. We don't hear about the heroes that made it, survivors like you and me. So this is not only a story about my life and your life, but it's about the good news of our victory, the victory in survival. As I've always said on this program and many other times that when we've spoken about our survivorship, that the victory that we have found is through through our survival. And if we don't speak up, people won't know that we have survived. And so many that have died will never be able to tell the story, but very few want to speak of the heroism of the survivors, or those who have died keeping their faith, or those displaced refugees who choose to be homeless rather than give up their faith. Nobody talks about what happened to the Assyrian or the Christian community that were banished and purged from Mosul. Has anyone asked where did they go? Where are they today? Are they still suffering and struggling? And this is why we're bringing you these stories, so that they may never be forgotten. This is why we will continue to speak about not only the oppression of the Christians in the Middle East, but wherever we may find them. This is what this show is all about. We continue to make the case, or lay out the many cases in the upcoming programs and upcoming shows. Both we will be doing it in the English language and in the Assyrian language, for the oppressed, the victims, and those who have been subjected to domination. The show has been serving its purpose. However, it is needed more today than ever because we offer a unique perspective. The show came about as a result of an overwhelming reaction to the continuous crimes that was being committed in the Middle East. The same Middle East that the Western world thought it was nothing more than a little fly that we can kind of swat away with a little fly swatter. But it proved otherwise, didn't it? It was very resistant. Despite the involvement of the greatest superpowers of the world in the region, in all of the world, the Middle East remains turbulent, and the Middle East remains dangerous, and the Middle East remains fanatical, because there are thugs and mobsters and people still living under harsh circumstances, where we thought we would be rid of one thug and one mobster, the none other than the butcher of Baghdad, Saddam Hussein, and other dictatorships in the world. There came about in the name of democracy, a government that now has made it even worse. Iraq and other places in the Middle East have gone from bad to abysmal, to the worst that you can imagine. Why? Because when a problem is not solved the right way, we end up paying a heavier price later. So this is why it is so important that we continue to raise our voices. The price we paid has never been greater, because what did we pay with? We paid and continue to pay through the lost lives of our beloved sons and daughters in the line of duty in the military of this great country and other countries in the world that has become, and I hope I'm wrong, for naught. And so no one appreciates the military more than we who have come from oppressive governments. We should never take our country, and when I say our country, I mean your country, whatever country that adopted you, you that have come from oppressive countries, never take that country for granted. We should also never underestimate our enemies. Frankly, I started this program because I got tired of being asked to give a reply in 30 seconds or less that I would rather not. How can you give your reaction to a beheading or a mother's cries for her daughter that was just kidnapped by ISIS, or react to a father's torn heart holding his decapitated child's body? I mean, we were being asked, and many of you can relate to this that come from the Middle East. When ISIS invaded Mosul, everybody was, all the media was trying to get in touch with people that knew that were born in the Middle East. So, what's your reaction? Do you still have relatives back there? And so on and on and on they went on. And when they actually got a hold of us, and I in particular, I can tell my story. When the media got a hold of me and they said, well, what's your story? And when I would tell them my story, I got tired. I got tired of speaking for about 15 minutes. And out of the 15 minutes, they would dilute it down to 30 seconds. And maybe out of that 30 seconds, only 15 seconds would make the airwaves. And even then, the story would be not given justice. So I know and I understand TV, but my question, it's really amazing. Has our humanity become so desensitized that we are trying to fit this catastrophe that's going on in this world, or this devastation within a TV segment, with a small little TV segment, and only to be able to say, well, we'll go to the commercial and we'll come back and then we'll go on with our life. I know and I understand TV, obviously, but you would think that there would be a little more sympathy and compassion. Again, I just want to reiterate why this program was brought about, is because who can sympathize better than we whose hearts are broken? Who can sympathize more than we that have lost everything? Who can tell the story better than that when we escaped with just the clothes on our backs? So we intend to tell the stories, give personal testimonies of survival and our perseverance. We will attempt to alleviate the confusion and the misconception and the misinformation of all that's going on, not only in the Middle East, but throughout the world. We will take your questions and concerns and hope that we can answer them. If not, then we can get you to the right organization or the right resource to get you the answers. So many people have so many concerns and questions, so many people wanting to get involved and make a difference. Hopefully, through this program, we can address your concerns, answer your questions, maybe even head or become a part of the solution. There is so much misinformation out there that I can't stand still and sit quiet anymore. I feel the need to constantly be talking, and constantly be answering questions and constantly explaining who I am and where I come from. There is so much tension, so much drama, and so much fear and uncertainty that people are reactive rather than proactive. So you've got, the reaction of the media when they hear something. For example, when ISIS invaded Mosul, nobody talked about that these Christians that lived in Mosul, for the most part are Syrians, lived there since the beginning of time. Nobody, I mean, we talk about Mosul, we're talking about, I mean, if I can take you as far back, I mean, from generations and generations. But I mean, for those of you, just to have a point of contact, for those of you that are Christians, and even the Jewish community, and of course the Muslim community as well, the story of Jonah, all three religions can relate to the story of Jonah. The story of Jonah the prophet Jonah went where? He went to the city of Nineveh. Nineveh, we call it Nineveh. Nineveh is in Mosul. That's how far back. And nobody seemed to be bothered. I mean, I know you're bothered in a sense where a lot of people were very, very confused. A lot of people were thinking that what was going on. There was no difference between the perpetrator and the victim. And I think there needs to be more discussion about who the perpetrator is and who the victim is. And I think there was no separation between that. And who can better tell that story or differentiate between the two but ourselves? So this is why we keep saying, we need to tell our stories ourselves. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalms 46:10. This is what we will attempt to do here. We will discuss the issues and address the concerns rationally with facts without any intimidation or fear. Having said that, we are here to also set the record straight on all that is going on and give you firsthand accounts of what is really happening in the Middle East and around the world. Now, I'm going to show you a few videos right now, and I want to thank those people that have submitted their good wishes for our 7th year anniversary. And I've got so many friends that have come along with me a long way. I've got so many friends that have been with me since the days of the radio program. And I want to thank you for being there. And so I've got a few videos, and then hopefully in the next few weeks, as we move forward with our program, we will share a few as we get them. But we've gotten a few right now that I don't want to spend too much time on, but I want to appreciate, and I want to take this time to say thank you to the video of the, I believe we've got 3 today. And as we listen to them, we'll come back and I'm going to tell you who they are and appreciate what they've done. This is their congratulatory message for the 7th anniversary of the Mona Kay Show. I think we were having a problem with the audio on that program, on that first one. That was, by the way, my sister, my long, long, long time sister that I absolutely adore and love. She is a poet, she is a writer, she is a warrior of the Assyrian American community, Miss Shushan Sergis. Are we able to play other videos, Fred?
شلامك مرة بارقني شامشي خمفيلوخ المخبي أنا وإن قشيشة بولس درمو من ديت لوس أنجلوس وإن شغلنا أبرسات قد برخلنا يبالت شواشنا قا مونا كي شو أزستخاتن مونا وشانا قد رابا هماشا بخابطوتا ويتلقت ميا خرزة إيتانايا أمتانايا شوتا باي بريشا قيوتراند إيتان أمتان آتوريتا بطلب من مري علاقة هماشا هيغا هاين كل دينا أما كدا خرزة قد هماشا أزي لقامة علىها آوي معدراني هيراني قد هماشا مي يترانا قاتا وعلى مبلخلون أخا جوئيد ومبلخلون أخا تو قد خطرت على مغسيلة قأمتن وكل الدنيا. My brothers and sisters in Christ, my name is Father Paulus Darmo from Los Angeles. I would like to congratulate Mona Kay Show on the 7th year anniversary. Throughout these 7 years, we've seen a lot of programs, a lot of coverages that the whole team, led by our sister in Christ, Mona Oshana, she covered a variety of programs and she brought a variety of guests. And we enjoyed all these shows. Personally, I would like to thank her to be the first to be covering the event of my ordination in Jerusalem, which was the first after 600 years for our Church of the East. And she was there in Jerusalem covering it, and the only video that I have of that event, which took place in Jerusalem, was through her show. So I want to thank her sincerely for that. And also I remember when I attended the inauguration of Donald Trump, our president, She was the first to call me there in Washington, D.C., and to have an interview with me while she had a panel with a group of fine people with her in the studio to cover that event as well. So Mona, congratulations again for 7th year, and hopefully we celebrate 70 year for this program. I want to thank you for all the hard work, you and all the crew, especially my cousin Fred Duman, and we're just going to be praying for you for this show as well to prosper and reach everybody in the world, not just the Assyrian community. God bless you, and thank you for listening.
Mona, congratulations on 7 outstanding years of programming with the Mona K Show. Your show truly, as you look at the archives, has told the stories of the struggles of the persecuted Assyrians across the globe. As a role model, also more importantly, as an Assyrian woman everywhere, you have shown us how to manage a household, husband and kids with kindness, while at the same time, you have always kept the love of your nation front and center in your daily work. America, Assyria, and the rest of the world do need strong Assyrian women who lift and build others, at the same time live bravely and also carry the indomitable will to win. You are a great representative for the Assyrian nation and an ambassador, true ambassador of the daughters of the Assyrian Queen Shamiran. May God bless you and keep you in his light, especially as you grow your Mona K Show into the future. God bless.
That truly is humbling to hear two great men. One, of course, the first one that you saw was Father Polis Darmo, who is a priest in Los Angeles, California. And he reminded us that I was, in fact, with them in Jerusalem when he was ordained. And the second, of course, being, for those of you that follow his program, Lieutenant Colonel Sergei Sangari, who is one of our most powerful military, analytical, political, you name it, that he has a program every Monday, that we are so proud of him. I look to him for advice. I look to him for things that are going on in the world. And if there's anybody that knows, that has his finger on the information of all that's going on in the world, it is Lieutenant Colonel Sangari. Thank you so much for your kind words, both of you. And just to go back to the fact that we seem to be placed in this position to be able to do what no one else is doing. And that is only because, and I'm not saying no one else is doing as in, well, we're in the media, we are reinventing the wheel. We are not reinventing the wheel. This program is not here so that we do breaking news. We don't break any news. But here's what we do: we put emphasis and we put focus on what is important, that people need to know things about the Assyrian community that otherwise would remain in obscurity. It would remain hidden. It would remain untouched, unheard of. For example, Father Darmo touched on the subject of being able to go to, or having me there in Jerusalem in 2017 when he was ordained. Do you know that no other media outlet or anyone that would even, well, they wouldn't know to cover it because they didn't know the importance of it. The fact that the Assyrians were not banished, but as a result of Tamerlan, the Turkish warlord that almost annihilated the Assyrian Church of the East, at the time known only as the Church of the East, 600 years ago, that if not for the remnants, a few trickling lives of a few people, that actually was to regrow the Assyrian community. He would have almost, Tamerlan would have in fact completely annihilated the Assyrians, because the Assyrians, not only as Christians, but as an identity, as Assyrians, we would have not existed. Our existence has grown and thrived in the church. The church, as the mother nation, or I should say a state within a state, or a state church, has preserved us. And so when the enemy came to attack, they would always burn our churches, burn our books, burn our liturgical books, because they knew that our faith was keeping us alive. And so, as a result of that persecution from Tamerlan, the Turkish, well, actually the Ottoman Empire during that time, warlord, destruction of the Assyrian church, who had a communion, who had communication with Jerusalem, being where Christianity was spread or spread from. The Assyrians were not able to have that communique or that dialogue with Jerusalem up until, believe it or not, 2017, where Father Polis Darmo and Father Joseph were ordained. Two deacons from Los Angeles, California, were ordained in Jerusalem. And as a result, the Assyrian Church of the East once again has rebuilt the bridge from, of course, our scattered Assyrian nation, which is in America and other places in the world, to build a bridge back with Jerusalem. So it was an honor, glory be to God, that we were able to do that. But no one else knows that story in order to say, I would have loved to have covered it. I'm sure had people known of the hidden story and the silent struggle of the Assyrians, as more programs are being launched, as more people tell the story, and as more people become aware of the Assyrians after our exodus from the Middle East, because it is only after the fact that we have escaped from our Middle Eastern countries, where there we were silenced, we were stifled, we were silenced out of fear. We were silenced, and we were, not only us, but all of the people of the country, the population, were taken hostage by the dictatorship of many different socialistic governments that were, we were denied to speak up, and we were denied of our human rights. And so this is why, again, I go back to why this program is so important. And it needs to have your support, and it needs to have your endorsement, and it needs to have your partnership, so that we're able to go on and to tell the story. Now, we might not be a fancy program where we bring about different kinds of we don't have the venues, we don't have but we do the best that we can, based on the fact that this is an organically grown program that has survived financially and otherwise independently. It is an independent broadcast that we bring to you based on what you're seeing between me and my brother here, Mr. Fred Duman, through Cinnamon Production. And I thank God, and I'm sure every person. And by the way, Lieutenant Colonel's program is also on this production, and Fred Duman actually produces that program every Monday as well. But it is through this production company, this small production company by Mr. Fred Duman, that we are able to bring you this broadcast. And I hope that we do impact, and that we do give you an insight, give you a perspective that you have not heard before. And if we share the same perspective, we can so that we can bring about the difference, and maybe be informative of the different types of viewpoints that we have. And so this is why it's important that we continue to not just start, but continue the program. One of the most important accomplishments of this program that I want to, and as we go through the weekly programs, I want to be able to point out the different things that I hope through the program and other methods of our activism has done, is to get out the vote. And when I mean get out the vote, is with everything that has happened, and with all, as many of you know, Assyrians as a whole is a legal immigrant community, very law abiding. We are very peaceful people. Whatever country that we happen to be residing in, we follow the rules for the most part. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule, to every nation, but for the most part, we are law abiding. We are faithful to our country and faithful to our, of course, church and our Christian faith. But at the same time, coming from our oppressive background, voting was something that was not a right that we had. We didn't vote in the countries that we have escaped. I know that for the first generation Americans, for example, my children, it is kind of hard for them to hear when we say we didn't vote in our homeland. And I know that I was 8 years old and I was, very young when I left. But of course, those of us that have left haven't forgotten what's going on over there. In our community, in our church community, when we congregate, when we have fellowship, of course, we're living within the culture. We speak the language. We stay vigilant. We stay aware. We stay connected and linked to the home country because of the fact that we're living in America because we had to escape. Otherwise, God only knows what kind of harm would have come upon us. And that's why we have that survivor's guilt sometimes. I do, at least. I have the survivor's guilt. Why did I survive when others didn't? But of course, God has a purpose and a mission for everyone. So getting out the vote was one of the most important, I think, missions that we were able to bring together as a result of this program. With the upcoming election, we are still rallying the community to continue to get out and vote like it matters. Now, as many of you know, for the past few years, we've been working diligently to rally the Assyrian American community to go out there and vote. And I've said it many, many times. We'll say it again. We are, for the most part, we are law abiding. We are, we love to get involved, but we have a problem. The Assyrian community at large, wherever they may be, are afraid of the government, afraid of getting involved with politics, afraid of reaching out and opening up. The reason being is our biggest criminal, that perpetrated the greatest crime against humanity for the Christians and other ethnic groups. And I speak on behalf of my ethnic group only because I feel like we are the most abandoned and we are the most forgotten. Let's just say that. The biggest criminal that perpetrated the greatest crime was the government. And so for us to come to these free countries, democratic countries, and it's not easy for us to say we're going to go out and vote. Because voting puts us on paper, puts our name on paper, puts the government knows where we are, puts our address on paper, and that is the fear that we have with the government. Because the countries that we come from were so oppressive, and the fear of God was in our hearts that we didn't speak up. If you spoke up, someone was listening. If you spoke up, you'd get that midnight knock on the door, and God only knows who would get arrested. And usually it was the men that would get arrested. And if women were arrested, and there were women that were actually arrested, God only knows what would happen to them. Now, the method of silencing a country or silencing people in the country that we escaped was elimination. They would be eliminated without question, and the family member didn't dare ask what happened to my father, what happened to my brother, what happened to my sister, what happened to my mother, what happened to whomever was picked up on that midnight call on the house, the call that came knocking on the door at that midnight hour. So this is why we wanted to bring engagement, the idea of being civilly engaged, to engage in our civil duties of voting, and to be able to break out of our shells. And for the last few years, many of you, as Father Darmo mentioned, he was at the inauguration of former President Trump, and I called him because we were the ones that were out there, and we were the ones that were Assyrians for Trump, started Assyria. I was one of the people, along with many activists, that started the Assyrians for Trump movement, and that continues. And of course, for those of you that don't know anything about the Assyrian community, and will hear this program and say, well, what does Trump have to do with the Assyrian community? It's the fact that the Assyrians, for the most part, and most Middle Eastern people, that it doesn't matter what faith, Muslim, Christian, even the Jews, for the most part, are conservatives. So we are, for the most part, conservatives, and our politics leans, for the most part, towards conservatism. And so this is why the Republican Party has always been one that the Assyrians have always leaned towards, because of our values, because of our faith, because of our core values. We have always leaned towards the Republican Party. And so during the fact that when President Trump was running, we got out the vote. This program was able to bring about and to communicate and to be able to have a voice to say that we need to be out there. During the census here in Arizona, I was appointed by the governor's office, Governor Doug Ducey's office, by, of course, I always call, thank you for the direction of Director Barry Wong, who I worked with, directed us to count the Assyrians. Many of the Assyrians, when we were trying to have them fill out the census so they can be counted, so that we could have a number, which is strength in number, of course, for our population, to know that there is a presence of the Assyrians. We were afraid. Again, our community went back into its shell, not wanting the government to know anything about us, and wondering, what effects will this have on me if the government knows that I'm voting? What effects will it have on me if the government knows where I live and how many people live in my house? And so I know that everyday Americans have a fear of the government anyways. I know that everyday people of the world have a lingering fear about the government and about a lot of things that are going on. But nevertheless, those of us that come from the Middle Eastern countries who didn't know what being counted or mattered, what it felt like to say that you count. I know that one of the logos, or one of the things that during the census, all of the motto was, "You matter." You know, it is hard to believe for someone that did not matter for as long as the Assyrian Christians, or the genocides and the persecutions that we've suffered, for someone to tell us all of a sudden that we matter. It was very important for us to get out the vote. And again, for those of us that come from oppressive governments and did not have the opportunity to vote, we must never give up. So I'm here to tell you once again, and to reiterate the message to all of my brothers and my sisters that are out there, and the election is coming, of course. I want to encourage everybody to go out there and vote. If you don't, I know it's too late to register right now, but I'm sure that there are volunteers all throughout wherever you're living that I'm sure encouraged you to register. For those of you that are registered, on November the 8th, there is a ballot. If you haven't gotten it in the mail, I know that I've received mine in the mail. So has all of the members of my family, and we will be voting for this coming election. And as I've mentioned, we've never made a secret of where this program stands. We are conservatives. I have always spoken about the GOP, the Republican. I am a Republican for a reason of my faith and my position and my core values as a Christian, as opposed to, abortion and such issues like that. I will always remain a Republican for that sake. But nevertheless, I am respectful of other people's views. I honor other people's disagreement. If we can get to that civil, have a civil discourse and not make it hostile, so that we can agree to disagree, as America needs to be. Because we are, after all, the United States of America and not the divided States of America, despite of the fact that we can see that our country is very, very divided right now. And so I want to offer, and a friend, if you can put the link, there it is, for those of you that are interested in finding out, this is called a golden ticket of 2022. The golden ticket basically is a AZGOP website that if you, and I'm reading it right off of the website, if you live in the many different districts, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all of the districts, and it says if you point your camera to that barcode, it will open up to the Republican Party of Arizona, and it will give you all of the different golden tickets for your area and how to vote. And it also takes you to all of the propositions. I know a lot of people are confused about the propositions, what to vote yes on, what to vote no on. I encourage you to do your research. I'm just giving you this website so that you kind of see what your golden ticket is and who the candidates are in your area. But I encourage you to do your own due diligence. Do your own research and vote for the person that you feel like you relate to the most or you would like to vote for the most. And of course, at this point, there is only 2 candidates on each side. For example, the gubernatorial race that we have, of course, we've got on the Republican side, it's candidate Kari Lake. And then on the Democratic side, it is Katie Hobbs. And both of them are very strong. And I know that the gubernatorial race is very, very, very tight. It's neck to neck. And so we will see what happens on November the 8th if the results come out that day or the day after. But I do want to encourage my community, my Assyrian American community, do not be afraid. This is not the country that will harm us. If anything, our involvement will do much good for the fact that we escaped, we risked our lives, or if he didn't, we that came from that country risked our lives along, of course, with our parents. I always talk about my mother being my Statue of Liberty. She is my Lady Liberty because she not only gave birth to me, but she gave me liberty. Because if it wasn't for her risking her life, we would not be here today speaking up. For those of you that are born here, that are Assyrian Americans, you don't forget your roots. You don't forget where you come from. And if you ask your parents, they'll tell you if they ever voted. So please do not be afraid. Be bold. Stand firm. If not for us, for those that perished, fighting for the cause and the mission and the purpose of their human rights. So if we don't do it for ourselves, we must do it for those that we left behind. That is where we can we can pay our debt. We can pay our debt for those that lost their lives while we are living in a secure and privileged life. So I hope all of you go out there on November the 8th and you vote. Now, if you want to vote, I know that there is a lot of fear about the fact that will my voice matter? Yes, it will. Will my voice be counted? Yes, it will. There are a lot of laws and regulations on the state level that I know of here in Arizona on the legislative side that were changed, that were implemented, that has in fact made our what we call election integrity, election security, that have enforced our elections to be safe and for people to be assured that our vote will count and our vote will matter. It does matter. Now, having said that, how can I be sure? I can't give you a guarantee. I can't give you that mistakes won't be made. We just saw in the elections, well, the primaries that we were seeing, there was a whole county Pinal County, whose votes were not counted. And there were mistakes that were made. And the Republican Party assured us that mistakes we're seeing and mistakes will happen. And that it is being corrected. And those corrections were made and implemented and in the future will not be seen. Hopefully, those things will not happen again. But then again, they are lessons learned. So I encourage you, November 8th is coming. The election is coming. The midterm is upon us. Please do not hesitate for a minute. Do not think twice. Your voice is important. You matter. And your voice will be counted. Go out there and vote because there are so many that died for this rights. So many that fought for giving those rights to all of those that come from oppressive governments that have never had an opportunity. And this is why I say this program has accomplished, one of the greatest things that we are been able to accomplish is to get this message out to you and say, do not fear, do not be afraid to go out there and vote. Now, if you're a Democrat, I'm speaking to you as well, a Syrian American and if you're in the Democratic and you're in the Democratic Party, you know what? Go out there and vote. Vote your voice, vote your choice. It is very important that we go out there and we vote. And that is the message that I want to get across, bottom line, to all of you. Now, I believe that we are reaching the end of our program. I don't know if we have any other videos that we neglected to show, Fred. Was there anything else that... Okay, my sister Shushan Sergis, who lives in Chicago, like I said, one of our greatest warriors. She actually went back home many years ago to fight with the resistance against Saddam Hussein and was part of the Assyrian Democratic Movement and still is. I love her to death because she sacrificed a lot and loves her. She's a great patriot, not only for the Assyrian community, but a great patriot for the Assyrian American population. So we're going to try to see. When she sent me this video, she recorded it on her phone. So we're going to try to see if we can have her voice back. She said it in English and in Assyrian to congratulate us on the 7th anniversary of the broadcast of our program. Let's go ahead and take a look. Yeah, no, I don't think so, Fred. I think we're not going to get Shushan's voice today. Yeah, it's too bad because it was working on my phone, and when I sent it to Fred, and I just don't know why it's just not working when we're playing it. But nevertheless, I'll have her re-record through another venue or through another way, and then hopefully we will get her back. But in the next couple of weeks, we will continue to share the well wishes of those that are sending through their messages. And until the next time, thank you so much for tuning in to the Mona Kay Show. Don't forget, tell your friends and share this program if you can, and let your friends know that we are on Thursdays every week at 8 p.m. either on the Assyrian Mona Kay Show or on the Mona Kay Show English. Thank you so much. God bless you, and shalom. America Fest. So we are very honored to be here. We're going to be covering it. It's a summit that's going to take place for the next 4 days.